Hello, Grumpy Old Fart here. Apparently the UFO videos I do are quite popular, so I'm gonna do another one. Get comfy here. This one, I did one from Kentucky, earlier, and I'm doing one now. This is from Texas, Aurora, Texas, and get this, 1896. Okay. April 19th, Dallas Morning News reported that about 6 o'clock this morning, people that were rising early had seen they had seen this appearance of a ship, of an airship. And keep in mind, this is 1896, long before the Wright brothers flew. It was traveling due north, and it had been apparently been seen sailing around different areas. Well, this thing was coming along doing 10 or 12 miles an hour, and it ran into a windmill and exploded. And it said it destroyed the windmill, the water tank, and apparently a flower garden. That's what it's reported here. The pilot of the ship was apparently the only one on board. And his remains were badly disfigured, but enough of him was that they could tell the pilot was, quote, not an inhabitant of this world. There was a U.S. Army signal officer there, and he gave it his opinion that the pilot was a native of the planet Mars. They had papers on him. They had unknown hieroglyphics on it. The ship was damaged too badly they couldn't figure what the mode of power was. But apparently they buried him and gave him a Christian burial right there in the town. And it's the marker is long since gone, but it's there. And stuff like this is intriguing to me because it's reported in the newspaper, and it's a lot in the newspaper. It's a rational report of something that it was a flying airship before the Wright brothers. Okay, now they had balloons and things like that, but these people knew what a balloon was. Okay, this thing hit a windmill and exploded. And it was machinery everywhere, according to this article. So, stuff like this gets to me because these people didn't know what an airplane was. They didn't know anything like that. They knew what a balloon was, but that's about it. They hadn't seen airplanes, rocket ships, none of that stuff. They had no idea what that was. Now, this there was a very great investigative journalist named Jim Marrs. He died a few years ago. Great guy. If you find anything of his on the internet, on YouTube, watch him. He's very entertaining. Kind of a cute little guy. But anyway, he does a thing on this, and he actually went and talked to witnesses who had been very young at the time, in their teens or earlier, and he talked to people who had actually seen it. So there were eyewitnesses still alive when Jim Marrs talked to them. They were living witnesses to this thing. They said they threw all the machinery down in a well, and now the well poisons people. But things like this lend credence to stories about UFOs, because think about it like this. Let's say, for the sake of argument, there are UFOs from other planets coming to visit us. Okay. Chances are those other planets are not in this solar system. If they are, they're hiding pretty well. That other civilization is hiding pretty good because we've sent probes to Mars and probes to the moon and places like that. So, if they're hiding pretty good. So, and as big as the galaxy is, our solar system is relatively young compared to some others. These other civilizations, theoretical civilizations out there, they've had a lot longer to develop faster than light travel, intergalactic travel, as it were. So chances are they had this stuff long before we did, long before we had airplanes. So if they're coming here, who says they had to have just gotten here? They could have been coming here long before. UFO stories go back not decades, not centuries, but thousands of years, eons. Okay, so, and I'm going to be getting into some of those later as well. My point is, this particular story, you have to lend credence to it because it was reported in the newspaper. These people didn't know what an airplane or a rocket was. They had no clue. I mean, rockets for shooting things, yeah, weaponry, but not rockets that you fly on. The descriptions of this, that they had a body that they buried in a cemetery, gave it a Christian burial, and they said it was not of this world. Okay, you're gonna tell me the entire town is in on this hoax? That's asinine. It's stupid. Somebody would have said something. Oh yeah, it's a hoax. We perpetrated a hoax. Somebody would have. Okay. If they did it for tourist attractions, it's not working because they're keeping. I mean, who's heard of this? Nobody has. They're not advertising on the local newspaper or any newspapers. If it was a hoax and they wanted to do it for tourism, they would have been advertising on something. But it's in Aurora, Texas. Who's ever heard of Aurora, Texas? I mean, if you're from there, maybe, but in that area, maybe. Me, because I'm a dork that watches a lot of stuff on YouTube, and I love Jim Mars. But my point is, most people haven't heard of Aurora, Texas. So if they did it for tourism, they didn't do a very good job. So that's about all for this one. But this happened in 1896 in Aurora, Texas, in the month of April 18th. It happened, or April 19th, excuse me. And do some research on that and look it up. This is some of those other people that were laughed at, scorned. Okay, but now that the Navy's made their announcement, you got to look back at this. Okay, maybe these people weren't crazy. You folks have a good day. God bless one and all.